YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. Look at this thing. It's a new P-51D from E-flite, the P-51 Mustang. This is in the Cripes Almighty.
Yes.
Library. So it's just like the June 9th. The only difference, of course, we have the newest, latest and greatest smart technology, huge flaps. We're gonna fly it with the drop tanks today. Throttle cuts off. We are in our normal flight mode, but now we also have that fancy dance, which is kind of cool, but also unnecessary on the P-51 in my opinion. I think it's still cool to have the thrust reverse. We'll show you how to set it up in the Unbox Build radio setup. Here we go. Out of the flaps, out of the gear. We are obviously in AS3X. We're just gonna fly along, full throttle. Just get right into it, guys. Oh, that thing is absolutely gorgeous. Okay, full landing flaps as we come in for a low pass. We're gonna go around in the bull. If you could go by the bull, that'd be great. Love the way this plane flies at low speed and high speed alike. We'll make 2 rounds, then we'll come out. Might go into the back, up over, and do a high-speed pass down the runway. So guys, you see we're coordinating our turns, keeping the nose pointed down into the takeoff flaps just over this tree line here. Gear sneaked out. Look how amazing that thing is flying, guys. Beautiful. Okay, pushing the nose down just a little bit, full speed pass. And then up, rolling it. And then back down, good? Mm-hmm. High speed maneuvers, about 4 steps to the center if you can. Guys, these P-51s are just amazing. Flawless experience. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go just past the flag and then make it go right through the sunset. Absolutely gorgeous, folks. Full landing flaps coming out now. 2-second deployment speed. And we did, what, 6 and 9? And that was perfect on the elevator correction, guys. About 40 to 50% throttle here. Full landing flap deployment. Okay, into the takeoff. We're gonna back off the throttle just a hair. Bring it nice and close to the tree line and then out of the bowl. Down the runway into the no flaps and full speed pass. Absolutely gorgeous. Nice drawn out barrel roll. We're not the only ones doing speed tests today, evidently. I hope you guys can hear that. There was somebody in there, Mustang. Just now, I think that was a Mustang, right? So folks, if you haven't ever experienced the P-51D, it is an amazing flight experience. Okay, full landing flaps. Absent this plane is nothing but LEDs. We do have thrust reverse, which is cool. Absolutely gorgeous, greasy touch and went. And there we go, right into the throttle. We're just gonna roll out of that and do some craziness here, coming over the tree line. Nice rolls, high altitude, and we're gonna go right down the runway. Here we go, drop tanks and all. Full downhill speed. There we are, guys. Absolutely gorgeous. These P-51Ds have been flawless. We have never had any issues with them. They have been some of our favorite planes. We evaluated the P-51D for the NX6 when it first came out, and for the NX8 when it came out. And we just love the way that this plane looks. It's so good, it's so powerful on 4S 2200. You can also fly it though on 3S 2200, no problem. You can go a little bit bigger if you want, but just remember, if your pack is thick, it will cause problems sticking it up in the nose. About 30%, 25% throttle. Look how that does with a 4S. Absolutely fantastic, folks. Right over your shoulder. Into the throttle, out of the flaps, up and over. Gonna avoid enemy fire. So cool. We got wind from our right side. We're gonna come in and try to do a final, make it kind of creative. Come along the tree line, gear R down. Full landing flaps way early. You can final this thing really quick, guys. Sinking right into the hole of that pink, beautiful cloud. And we're just gonna see if we can get a nice greasy landing on our first landing. Oh, buddy, got a little early. That's our critically low warning. So we're just gonna be very gentle and nice to our battery. We're gonna final on a tight final. I'm at about 15% throttle, takeoff flaps only. I wanna go around one more time. Camera crew, you good there? Mm-hmm. Okay. Full landing flaps, and we're gonna take a rudder turn. Rudder. Using the elevator, keeping that landing configuration, ruddering it around. Nice tight landing approach. We got plenty of power if we need it. And there we go, guys. Just absolutely gorgeous. Oh yeah! And thrust reverse is crazy powerful.
Wow.
That was too much. Guys, what an amazing flight experience. True maiden flight from the P-51. Look at that beautiful blue nose. I wasn't sure what I thought about it, but now that I've seen it fly, I know what I love, and I love that plane. Just like I love the June night, just like I love the Blondie before it. I wish I would have been flying so I could have seen the Texan. I think the Texan was right before that, possibly. It was a yellow with a checker board finish, but that was in an 1100 millimeter size. Yeah, Megan, the camera crew loves the P-51. Thrust reverse is just puts it over the top on quality and fit and finish, throttle cuts on. Obviously, second to none flight performance. And guys, I must say, when it comes to the P-51, if you're looking for a good experience, you can't go wrong with the 1.2. The build was easy, the radio setup was easy, everything about it is just flawless. I love the experience. The only thing I don't love about it is the battery tray. When it's a big battery, you'll have some trouble getting it in and out, and you'll probably break the tabs. If that happens, no harm, no foul. Stuff it in there with a piece of foam that's got that sticky foam like you get with packaging sometimes, and you can hold your battery that way, which is what I used to do, incidentally, all the time. And it worked really good. But also, if you want to fly this on a bigger battery, you can definitely do it. This plane will take a bigger battery, but just love the way that it goes together, love the way that it flies. It's an amazing park flyer experience, but you can bring this out to the biggest field and still enjoy it, because the speed and flight envelope will always satisfy. And that's the crazy thing, is its big brother, the P-51 1.5, I've never been a huge fan of, but I love the 1.2, and I love it, and always have loved it. And the 1.5 just left me wanting. So I don't know why. It's one of the few times where the smaller plane is better. And I must say, up against the 1.1 options, it's a lot better. We've consistently seen that the 1.2 performs a little bit better than the 1.1s or the 900s. And we really like it a lot better than the 750 millimeters. Those things are just too fast. The wing loading is too high. This thing is amazing. If you haven't experienced it with the June night, check this thing out. If you like the color and trim livery, make sure you order if you see it. And we'll have links in the video description below so you can buy one and help support our channel. Brian Phillips RC here, camera crew there. She loves helping. She's so good. Give the shout out to the camera crew. If you wanna say how good a job you did, camera crew, smash the like button. Help support our channel. Buy this thing if you like it. If you don't like this, we got a plethora of other choices for you, and you can check them out at brianphillipsrc.com. And they'll also link back to all the videos you're watching right here on Brian Phillips RC on YouTube. So thanks, guys. World's best audience, and a special thanks to our Patreons and PayPal supporters. They come through monthly. And when I process our bills and think about how many people are out there supporting us, it really just is amazing. So special thanks to you. If you want to be a Patreon, there's a link in the video description below, and also PayPal if you're not into the monthly support that comes along with Patreon. So thanks, guys, for being with us. So much more coming from Brian Phillips RC. Camera crew reminded me I never mentioned anything about the center of gravity on this plane, and mostly because we have found it to be hugely not a problem on this plane. When using the recommended 2200 4S, it's literally on the center of the tray. I slide it in, I didn't even really check the CG. I don't care, it goes in, it's fine. Now, if you get into a bigger battery, you're gonna wanna check. It's 85 millimeters from the leading edge back, plus or minus 3 millimeters. So you got about a 6 millimeter window, and it's somewhere in here. It is listed in the manual if you're curious. I don't usually have to worry about it on this plane, and part of the reason why I knew I could put it on that center and part of the reason we didn't mention in the unbox build radio setup is because we've done this plane a number of times, and we've always had amazing, phenomenal experience. So it's just one of those things. You get a good plane, and they just fly well as designed. And that's one of the very, very few times from any manufacturer that you can put the battery right in the middle of the tray and it seems to be about perfect. So 4S 2200 Gen 2 in our case is what we happen to be using. This is the very pack that we used and it goes right in and it's perfect. And yes, there is full telemetry, shows each cell, all that stuff. We didn't even mention it in the video just because it's such a non-issue and it's so nice when you're flying these things, you don't have to worry about anything except for just how dang beautiful it is. So guys, stay tuned. Thanks for forgiving us for forgetting to mention that. And definitely stay tuned. We have so much more coming on Brian Phillips RC, and we hope that you will freeze with us as we film all the way through the winter. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. Look what we've got, brand new from E-flite, the Cripes Almighty livery of the P-51 Mustang. Absolutely gorgeous creation. We've seen it before. Big flaps, huge, super wide flight envelope on this plane. Obviously, we're gonna be showing you how it flies right now. If you wanna see the unbox build radio setup, we'll have that for you. And then this comes equipped with a 631 and all the new features you expect in smart, ESC equipped, avian equipped, telemetry equipped. We do have a 5-minute timer set, but we can actually look at our telemetry on the screen, which is really nice, and see all the flight pack information. We are flying on 4S 2200. The camera crew is trying to get you guys a shot of it. Here you go. Can you see it that time?
Yes.
Very easy to see in person, a little bit harder to get on camera. We have a little bit of wind going down the runway, probably 5 miles an hour, elevator compensation set, and we're ready to take off. Thrust reverse is off, here we go. As you can see, tons of power. Absolutely gorgeous flying plane. We got the sun right behind us. Drop tanks are installed here for our second flight. Full throttle. Tons of power. A lot more windy today than last. Presentation pass. Just bring it around about 50% throttle here. Out come the flaps. We're gonna bring it down into the bowl. And then watch this flight envelope, guys. Look how slow I can do it. Look at this, look at this, amazing. About 40% throttle there, and look at that thing. Barely moving by, okay, and the takeoff flaps, full throttle. Lots more wind. Cam crew is gonna go to the center of the runway. It's gonna try to keep everything in focus like normal. Up and over, and then down into the bowl. Avoiding the flag. So as you guys can see, this thing screams if you want it to on 4S, or you can slip it in for a really tight runway. And stop it at your feet. It's amazing, not only the flight envelope, but with thrust reverse, you guys can see how short of a runway we use, and I went over the end of that. That's probably only 50 feet of runway there, and it rolled out just a few feet. So definitely not the way you're gonna wanna land this thing every time, because it is easy to get up on its mains. You definitely do have to find the balance. And when there's a little bit of wind, you gotta be Johnny on the spot with your throttle management. But the thing is, I just love the way it flies. It's beautiful. The silver definitely is a wonderful fit for this plane. Love the invasion stripes on the bottom. Love the way the sun hits the silver. And if you guys are familiar with the June night, which would have been the last revision, we had the V1, V2 of the June night, because we actually had that in the AR 636, and then later in the 631 on the V2s. And full thrust reverse, I don't know that that was ever actually available, but at least not on mine. So here it is. It might have been right before they released that in the Avian. Now there's gonna be turbulence over these. Okay, into takeoff flaps now. You see that tail wiggling? That's because the wind is with us. Actually about a 30 to 45 degree angle. And behind us, it's a weird place to fly. And we're gonna make a downwind pass here, which is a weird, we're gonna go on the inside here. As you can see, just how it turbulates up over the hill. Getting hard into the throttle here. Keep that nose pointed where you want it, and then we're gonna come right down the runway again. Absolutely gorgeous, folks. The P-51 leaves nothing to be desired. I can definitely say this thing flies every bit as good, if not better, than what we've had from E-flite in the past, in the 1.2 meter size, which incidentally is my favorite size class for the P-51. I just feel like it meets everybody's needs, and then it does it so good every time. We've had the Blondie, which would have been 3 liveries ago. We had the V1 P-51 June night. We did that also for Esteban, my buddy. And then we also did V2 for us. And we released it with the NX6 and the NX8. So far, we've done 5 of these P-51s on our channel in this same size class and just absolutely loved every one of them. And there's our critically low 13.6 volts. Okay, and it looks like we are about 25% power left, probably had a little bit of a sag there. This is a newer pack, so full disclosure, we are in takeoff flaps, landing flaps, and gear are coming out now. So we're gonna go ahead and get in here and try to get this landed. We're gonna take the low point in the tree line there. Just for safety, we're way past the trees. And we'll put some thrust reverse in there and just absolutely gorgeous behavior. Love the way that the plane looks. If you guys are not familiar with this P-51, it is one of my favorite to fly. It is one of the most consistent and relatively easy to overwhelm the P factor, but it is definitely powerful. I want to drop the drop tanks off, and then we're gonna do just another quick circuit because we're about 33%, a little bit of recovery on the battery. Camera crew, if you wanna just show them this real quick while I pull those drop tanks off. The throttle cut's on. And so I'm just gonna show you how easy it is to pull these off. You just pull them like that. I'm gonna stick them in my pocket. Just like this. Very quick, very easy, not a lot of ordnance on this aircraft. And if you guys are familiar with Brian Phillips RC much, you know that I'm not a huge fan of flying with tons of ordnance, but this P-51 does a pretty good job with that. Okay, so just to be clear, we're at 14.9 volts, a little bit low on voltage for taking off, but we're just gonna do a short sorties and get a couple of passes without, you can see right there, camera crew. Now, grass ops, you'll be okay if you have short grass, but just remember getting this thing moving, you have to really ease into the throttle, be mindful. If it's windy, you're gonna definitely have to manage your throttle a lot more actively, because if you get a gust of wind that takes you off the ground, you don't wanna stick the nose into the ground. Here we go, right in front. Loving it, guys. So clean, so smooth without the drop tanks. Love the invasion stripes. Okay, going in the bowl for a couple quick turns. Camera crew is gonna come with me. We have a lion on the hunt in the bowl. Man, that wind was making that turn kind of crazy. Trying to stay in it. Okay, takeoff flaps now. We're gonna drop the gear, go right over the lion. Did you see the lion respond?
Yeah, luckily it's not a very smart lion.
Okay, out of the dirty pass there. Okay, critically low. We're gonna back off the throttle to 50%, takeoff flaps in. We are in takeoff flaps, about 30% throttle, 40% throttle, hovering around there. Here come the gear. Wind is right with us at this angle. We're gonna go in right over the lion on prowl. There we go, guys. And thrust reverse.
It's crazy.
It's just amazing, guys. The thrust reverse definitely doesn't look quite as good, but boy, I love being able to control and stop that plane. It would have saved me many a landing gear issue on this exact plane. I can tell you from experience, when I was a young and inexperienced pilot, I was flying this with roads and curbs, and definitely you don't like hitting curbs with the P-51 in the 1.2 meter size class, or any size class for that matter, because they tend to break. That being said, I also hit a light pole with my first one, and it didn't do well after that. But I actually fixed it, and it was beautiful. So this thing just leaves nothing to be desired. It looks so dang good. I mean, look at the scale lines, look at the beautiful shadow. Obviously, look at the thrust reverse. Look at all the different features that we have now all of a sudden in these P-51s. I'm gonna do a little backing just so you guys can get a different angle of it here. That tail wheel definitely works well when you're on the ground for ground handling. But just love the fact that we can reverse these planes now. It seems like such a stupid marketing ploy until you have it and you're in a tight environment and you can just take full advantage of the basketball court or whatever park apparatus you're trying to take off and land from. But just love this plane. Cripes Almighty, third, I'm not sure what that exactly means, but I'm sure somebody out there that's watching this video can fill us in on all the details. So hopefully we've answered all your questions about this re-release, if you want to call it, or new release from E-flite. We love it. We've loved every 1.2 meter P-51 that E-flite has put out in the time we've been doing this. They've been great. It's one of the best buys you can get in the hobby. Of course, not a brand new pilot, probably going to be doing this, but with Safe Select, it's not a bad choice for a second or third plane even. Yes, grass ops will work on this. I just really like to fly it off of the pavement because we can do it. You think I got enough for one takeoff and landing in the grass? She's saying no, so let's do it.
Yes.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna set it, we're just gonna be picky about it today because our grass wasn't cut recently.
No.
So I'm gonna go right here. This is kind of packed down nicely. I think it'll do grass ops, but I just hate to break the prop on the first. If you wanna help support the channel, buy these things from the links in the video description below. Okay, full up elevator. We got takeoff flaps only, no landing flaps. We'll see if we can get it moving. And that's what you're gonna run into, folks. So if you've got tall grass, you're gonna have to probably pack it down. So go and just stamp down the grass if it's cold like this. Maybe hold the tail and give it some throttle and see if you can advance it along. But to be honest with you, that's what's gonna tend to happen. If you catch those wheels in the grass, it's gonna wanna pivot on you. So now you can hand launch it, just be careful. It's got a lot of torque roll, okay? So if you're gonna hand launch it, you're gonna have to probably hold it from the back of the tail and take it off like this. But you'll be able to land on grass, no problem. I just don't know about getting started. Over here on our front yard grass, it was like a sod. That would probably work with the Kentucky bluegrass in our area. That would probably work fine. But out here, we've got a much more coarse Fiscus blend, and it's just really tall, thick grass. Yep. And more of like cold, a hay grass.
So the dirt is like frozen.
And because we buried the power lines, I wasn't able to get out and make some of the last manicure cuts right before it got cold and crappy out. So anyway, guys, absolutely love the plane. Take it for what it's worth on the grass ops here. I think it's gonna be fine in the right conditions, but you'll have to use your best judgment on that. Definitely a great plane. Definitely recommended by myself. We have definitely loved this plane. As many times as we've done it, we've never been disappointed. Yep. And to be honest, it's just a good one. So definitely buy it. If you don't have a P-51 and you haven't ever done a 1.2 meter, it's a great one. I know we reviewed a 1.1 not too long ago, had quite a bit of trouble getting it to really dial in. This thing comes out of the box, you build it, it's easy build, and it's ready to fly, and it will fly great right out of the box. And yes, the battery is 2200 4S right on the middle of the tray, you slide it in the nose, and it's golden. I didn't mess with it. I didn't even check the CG. We've flown it now twice, and it's just perfect on 2200 4S Gen 2. So if you want to fly on a higher than 30C pack, you'll be fine, but you don't need it. If you want to fly on a 3S, you can do it, but just keep in mind, you're going to have to really ride the line because the power to weight ratio is still amazing on 3S, but 4S is really going to help you punch it for those vertical climb outs, and you're going to have no problems getting around. Plus, I think that the scale ratios on speed and performance are pretty good with 4S. I think it looks like a fast P-51, and a P-51 is a very fast plane for being a real performance plane. Now, this isn't a racing pylon racer, and so we've seen a few that have come out in the recent history that are really, really fast, like crazy fast, and they would be in the 1,000 to that was 1,100 millimeters, right? Or was that 1,000? I can't remember if it was 1,000 or 1,100.
It was just a little bit smaller than this one, I think.
But either way, that one was insanely fast and a very different flying experience. It's got the razor top. I love the bubble top. That's the way I like these planes to look because they look like a warbird, and that's the way I prefer them. Even in the UMX class, we had a Horizon Hobby UMX P-51, amazing flying plane, but it's just a different experience because you've got the flaps, you've got the retracts, you've got that amazing scale appearance, and you've got the amazing flight performance. And that's not to take anything away from the UMX, which is a really good flight experience and out of the box, ready to go. You know, it's super easy, but this thing is a better flight experience even still. And it's definitely budget friendly. I mean, nothing is really that cheap anymore in the RC hobby because everything has gone up so bad with inflation. But if you're gonna buy and you're looking for bang for the buck, 1.2 meter P-51 all day long, 4S, all day long, 2200.
I have a question about battery
Yes.
size. If you're a new pilot, somebody says this is my 3rd or 4th plane, would you recommend a 3S or a 4S?
I would always recommend a 4S on a plane that will handle a 4S, and here's why. Power saves planes' lives.
That's what I was thinking.
Yep. But if you have trouble managing your throttle, then you may want to go with a 3S just so you don't sit there and go, you know, like full throttle all the time. Full throttle, full throttle, full throttle. You'll destroy your packs. And that's true for any plane. So if you're a new pilot and you're trying to check your tendency to stay at full throttle, you're not going to have any easier time if you're on 3S because you're going to tend to fly at 60 to 70 to 40 to 50 throttle to keep it going around. Whereas on a 4S, you're going to be at the 30 to 40 to 50 to 60, 70 at 100% when you're doing high speed passes. But the key is if you have a tendency to ride full throttle all the time, then you're going to have that same tendency even if you're in a lower size pack. But you're going to need it more on a 3S because you're going to need that speed to keep moving. So remember, these planes will bite you because they're warbirds, but I found that the P-51 behaves exceptionally well amongst the other population of the 1.2 meters, like the P-47s of the years that we've covered, the P-40s over the years, and we've covered a number of other ones. The Spitfire was always a lot more wonky.
F4U Corsair.
F4U Corsairs definitely will bite you, but you can fly that one really slow. Mm-hmm. So definitely a beautiful, beautiful plane, definitely worth keeping. And yes, of course, I know some of you guys are thinking, it's another P-51. Well, you know what? There's always new people in the hobby, and I guarantee you they're not thinking, oh, another P-51. But those of us that have flown a bunch of them, I can definitely say this. It's still new and exciting and definitely an amazing experience. Even if you've flown the other ones, I've got them in the basement ready to go, and they're in great shape, and I still love the experience. So super fun. And guys, if you want to help support Brian Phillips RC, we got Patreon and PayPal up at the top of the links. This plane up at the top of the links, the battery, the transmitter, we use the NX8. Really good experience, super easy, and we will show that in its entirety in the Unbox Build radio setup, which was published about a minute before this flight series. And we hope that you guys answered all your questions. Yes, there is a noteworthy absence of LEDs on this 1.2 meter size class. Hopefully at some point Horizon will listen to our request to get LEDs on these models. But at the end of the day, I love the plane. It flies amazing. If you want to put LEDs, you can go back to some of our legacy videos and we show how we do it, which is basically just taking some short chunks of motor winding cable, and we actually tap the positive and negative of the servo lead going to the ailerons, and we put an LED out on the wingtip. And I recommend just red and green, or not red and green, but yes, red and green with red on right returning, okay, as your rule of thumb. And then I usually did a tail light, and the tail light was a huge help when I was a new pilot, especially when I was flying in low light conditions. And winter, make no mistake, it's low light flying conditions for a lot of you guys because you're just getting home from work, you're in a big rush, you want to get out, get a couple flights in before the sun sets, and those LEDs really do help. But I must say, silver is going to be good for this time of year. You can bring it below the tree line, but remember, when you silhouette with a silver plane, it will disappear on you in a silver sky. So just keep that in mind. If you got, you know, like crispy blue skies, you'll be fine. But if you get that gray haze that you get a lot of times in winter, if you go out there and the sun's out there, it's going to be very difficult to see orientation. And that is where safe comes in very handy. Okay. So if you don't need safe, still set up safe anyway. It only charges you the one channel. So I would go ahead and definitely set it up just in case you lose orientation on these, you know, low light winter days. Any thoughts, camera crew?
Still one of my favorites.
Yep, definitely. All right, guys, we got one more flight for you. Not sure what order you're gonna be seeing these, but we just wanted to make sure to touch all the bases. If you have questions and comments, leave them down below. We'll do our best to get to them. We've been a little bit behind on comments, so I apologize in advance. And special thanks to our Patreons. And that is another way to get our ear a little bit easier, is the Patreons tend to just get in front of us a little bit quicker because we happen to see them quicker. So that's one advantage there, but we don't actually list it as an advantage, because if we show that as a value added on the website, then they actually have to charge a VAT tax for people that are overseas outside of the United States. Yep. So we specifically do not commit to any of that, so that you guys don't have to pay special taxes on it. So anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. P-51D. This is so good. If you don't already have one, if you've never experienced it, it is not all hype. It is an amazing plane. You will love it. I promise you, you'll love it. And if you're into radio controlled airplanes of all sizes, if you've got tons of experience, you're just getting back into the hobby from back in the Futaba days, you know, with crystals and all that stuff, we're here to help you on Brian Phillips RC. Or if you're a brand new pilot and you're like, I want that P-51 in my hangar that doesn't even exist yet, I still have to convince my wife, but I'm here to learn from you. You're in the right place. Brian Phillips RC. We're gonna help you get from where you are, which is either not flying or coming back to flying, to where you wanna get. And then also, if you're right in the middle and you're sandwiched between just building up your arsenal of amazing warbirds and different aircraft, we're here to help you along the way. And if you're far advanced beyond my skills and our ranks, we still really appreciate you being here with us to help along all the new people and help usher in the next generation of RC pilots here on Brian Phillips RC. So we really appreciate you. Stay tuned. Don't forget to smash that like button and click the bell for notifications. If you haven't already subscribed, obviously do that. And we'll see you here on the next video, which there's so much more coming from Brian Phillips RC. Stay tuned.